It's The List and your boy with Jimmy Van and Sean Ross Sapp.
All right, we are live.
What's up, you guys? Sean Ross Sapp, managing editor of Fightful.com. It is December 27th. It is the 52nd edition of List and Your Boy. But Jimmy Van, that is misleading. I thought this was like the 1 year mark, but it really isn't. Because at the beginning of December last year, we did a show.
Right.
And then for some reason, you didn't show up to work for a month. We didn't do another podcast until 2017. So this is kind of reaching the year mark. I had thought that we did more shows in 2016, but what is a little more surprising to me is how long Fightful existed before we did those shows.
Yeah, I never wanted to be on-air talent, Sean. I was kind of like the J.J. Dillon. I was the J.J. Dillon of Fightful.com.
You're the knight in shining armor, aren't you? You had to come in. And...
Didn't want to be the on-air talent. What happened was I saw that nobody else was getting it done. And so I descended in the ringer. And you know what I love about this whole thing? Because you and I have talked about this. When I told you, because I think someone like no-showed or something. And when I said to you, hey, I'll do the show next week because whatever, maybe Russo, somebody wasn't there. You told me after the fact, you were like, fuck, I've never seen this guy on camera. This guy could be dog shit for all I know. But it worked out, right?
Well, I mean, okay, because having bosses that want to get themselves on camera is nothing new to me. That is not a shot at like my last employer or anything. I love doing shows with him. But I mean, it happened everywhere I was. I mean, when I worked for Bill Apter, me and him were on camera all the time together. But I mean, most people start wrestling websites because they're passionate about it and they want to talk about it. So, I mean, that's not anything new. It's just, you know, I didn't know what you would be like on camera.
And you'll probably agree with me. I never ask you to do stuff on camera. Like, outside of the show, have I ever said to you, oh, I want to do a podcast and talk about this news? Never, ever.
Never.
This is just something I started doing it because we had an opening. Remember, we used to have all the daily guys, and then I cut them all back.
Oh, I remember I had to edit them all.
Yeah, so we had an opening, and so I thought, I can count on myself. It's like you always say, right? If you know, who are you going to depend on?
Yeah. Oh, so, I'm with you. I'm with you, man. Like, when we made the leap to getting an associate editor, like, there was some relief, but then there was some, like, oh, man, what's this? How's this going to work?
Yeah.
And fortunately, it's all been good, like, with our contracted guys like David and Brian. But, yeah. Man, you got to depend on yourself an awful lot in these things.
That's why I started doing it. And there have been weeks that and this is no shot at the show or our listeners. There have been weeks that I just don't want to do it because maybe I'm busy with something with my company or whatever. And there are weeks where it's like, crap, I have to do the podcast. But whatever, you know, it's a good thing. I like talking to you, even though you're a bit of a pain in the ass sometimes. And I like having Nigel in here producing the show, so it's all fun.
Listen to Nigel, just giggling along.
Oh, that's my life, Sean. Let me tell you.
Well,
I'd like to know what they say when I'm not in the room. That's what I'd like to know.
Haha. Nigel's gonna giggle along this weekend because I am releasing the funniest moments of Fightful.com 2017 this weekend.
That's gonna be fun.
On Fightful.com. Also tonight, I'll get this plug out of the way. 8 p.m. Eastern, myself, Jeff Hawkins, Alex Palowski, providing alternate commentary on Royal Rumble 2005. I've talked to a bunch of wrestlers who were in that match, people who were backstage. Have some stories about the wrestlers, have some stories about the Rumble match itself, who puts it together, how it comes together. It's going to be a lot of fun. Alex, I don't think, has ever watched this, so I kind of wanted that. I wanted that fresh perspective on this match, and I wanted him to ask some questions about it. So cool. I'm really pumped. If people like it and it does well, we'll do more.
Awesome. Well, this is our last show of the year, and it's a little light on wrestling news. There is some stuff to talk about, but it's a little bit light. So we're gonna tell a little bit more stories, Sean. And we're gonna do more what some people consider to be bullshit on the show.
Sure.
Because it's a little light. So first and foremost, my wife specifically asked me to wear this sweater on the show today. And anybody that only listens to us on audio and doesn't watch the YouTube videos, I have an Edmonton Oilers ugly sweater that my wife got me for Christmas. And she specifically said, please wear this on the show. So there you go. I got it on for her. And then the other thing is, this is a sweetheart that she got me for Christmas. This is a James Ellsworth Elite Collection action figure from Mattel. And I was telling Sean off the air, I don't even know if I had told my wife this was out or not, but she got it for me for Christmas. I put a picture of it on Twitter, and James Ellsworth actually retweeted the picture that I put on Twitter. So I'm going to unbox this thing. I thought this was like the perfect complement to the one and only Sean, one of a kind, life-size cardboard cutout that we got going on back there.
Well, now I gotta wonder, are you gonna get a little iron-on transfer of the Ya Boy shirt, which people can get at ProWrestlingTees.com/Fightful?
It's actually
put it on him.
That's not a bad idea. That's not a bad idea. Maybe I should. And you know what I love about this? See his pose right there? It's the every man with two hands, right? That's the pose right there. So I thought that was kind of apropos. So this is what the wife gave me. And so let me ask you, how was your holidays? How was your Christmas?
It was funny. I was telling Nigel off the air. I was really looking forward to it because it's some time off, and I don't get a lot of it. I don't give myself a lot of it, and then there's not a lot to do around here. There wasn't a lot open. I ended up working some more. So
you did, really?
Yeah, I ended up working, putting together some things, posting some interviews that hadn't been up on Fightful before.
Check out the physique. Look at the physique, man.
Great.
Look at that. He's got the tattoos on the back. Look at that sunken chest, man. Look at that.
I love that they kept the Offspring tattoo on him.
They did. It's look at the size of his knee pads. Does he really have knee pads that big?
No, their knee pads are weird sized.
Yeah, that's a pretty big knee pads.
Have you seen that they're re-releasing? Well, they're not re-releasing. They're reproducing the old Hasbro figures with current stars.
They already did. They're already out. Yeah. And
I see them at the store all the time.
Actually, I'll tell you a story about that. So because you know I'm a collector, there are people, so you know the old Hasbro sets from the 90s, there are people that make custom versions of those, and they try to sell them on eBay like they're the originals.
Yeah.
So when I saw that they were re-releasing these Hasbros of today's stars, immediately that's the first thing I thought of. These customizers are going to custom make those, and they're going to make like they're the real thing and make a killing off of them. So I don't touch the Hasbros because I don't know if they're legitimate. That's the main reason I've never been a collector of Hasbros.
Is it like really hard to customize LJNs like that? Because I mean, they're one solid piece of rubber, right?
Yeah, I mean there are some guys that are decent at it. I've seen guys because they use different materials to remake the rubber, and they've got the paint and all that. Yeah. Usually, if you're good at spotting it, you can tell. Like I'll tell you this in that line, there are a couple of what's the word? I guess phantom figures that people have always claimed exist when I don't think they really did, like a black card Bam Bam Bigelow and a black card Elizabeth. And there was a collector I knew, and this guy was making customs where he would like take the Elizabeth from the other packaging and put it on a black card and glue the bubble back on, and then he'd go on Facebook and go, "Look what I just found," right?
Yeah.
And people were calling him out on it, saying, "You're a moron, and you made that, and that is not legitimate, and do not put that on eBay for $10,000.
Skeevy.
Yeah, this is what people do.
Skeevy.
So look at this. Look at that. There you go. Anybody that's watching us on YouTube, check that out right there. There's
a great gift idea from Mrs. Vanderlinden.
Yeah, that was pretty damn awesome. I like it. So I'm probably gonna try to arrange for. Oh damn it!
You should probably arrange to have that Ric Flair figure pulled out, and then have the Ellsworth figure beat the Ric Flair figure. Because the person who won the contest still hasn't hit me up with their address.
You know what's funny is the Flair figure, his head looks a lot bigger than Ellsworth's, even though the rest of the body is the same.
Well, I'll say this. Ric Flair is probably about 60 pounds heavier.
Yeah, he probably is. He probably is. So there you go. Well, that's cool. I like that. So there you go. I'm going to tell you a story. Do you know what... I'm going to tell you about my Christmas night. Do you know what SIDS is, Sean?
SIDS Vicious? I sure do.
SIDS Vicious? Do you know what...
Psycho SIDS?
No.
SIDS Justice?
I'm referring to sudden infant death syndrome. Have you ever heard of that?
It sounds pretty similar to what I was talking about.
Very similar, very similar. What that means is it's something that affects babies, usually up until about 6 months of age. They can die unexpectedly. They don't know what the cause is yet. They know ways that you can prevent it from happening. They say things like, don't let the kid sleep on his stomach if he doesn't know how to turn his head because he could smother. Don't swaddle them when you put them to sleep because they might get too calm and stop breathing, that kind of thing.
Wow.
So I'm going to tell you about my Christmas Eve, Sean. For the last 6 months, my kid now is almost 7 months old, my son. And for the last 6 months, my wife has been co-sleeping with him in a bed to watch him and to make sure that he doesn't get affected by SIDS. And to her credit, she's been very successful, and the kid is fine.
No power bombs.
But no power bombs. But here's the thing. So once he hit 6 months, I was telling my wife, we got to get him into a crib now because he's starting to move around. He's crawling. He's rolling over. We got to get him into a crib. And for reasons I don't need to get into, we were a little late in getting my daughter into a bed so that we could give her crib to my son. Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, I should say, my son is taking a nap. Next thing we know, we hear the monitor go off. The kid's bawling. We go up into the room. He rolled off the bed and he hit the floor.
Oh, God.
And I have hardwood in my house.
Ooh.
So my wife and I are kind of freaking out. My temper sometimes gets the best of me. I was not in a pleasant mood. Fortunately, because we're in Canada, our healthcare system's decent. Sometimes you deal with wait times and stuff. Wait times can be sometimes a problem, but it's decent. We ended up taking him to Sick Kids Hospital in downtown Toronto on Christmas night just for preventative measures.
Wow.
We're in and out in an hour, and he's perfectly fine, and there's no damage. But, and so when we got home from that, then my wife was gung-ho. Let's get the bed set up. Let's get the daughter in the bed. And my son was in a crib that night, Sean.
All because your doctor called the kid a spot monkey, right?
Yeah. It's ironically enough.
Why is he taking bumps at this age?
One of my buddies said that to me. He said he's taking bumps already.
Yeah.
That's what he said. But that happened to me.
Glad to hear that he's okay. That is a wild Christmas, to say the least.
That was my Christmas night. Yeah, that's what happened. But you know what? Because he was fine, no damage, and because we were in and out in an hour from the hospital, it didn't turn out to be too bad. It would have been one thing if we were there for 6 hours.
Yeah.
In and out in an hour. So it wasn't that bad.
Yeah, that ain't happening here. Not in Kentucky. Not in America. Period.
Mm-hmm. And of course, because I'm in Canada, I didn't pay anything. So that's a positive, right?
I just avoid the doctor.
That's very wise, Sean. You should keep
I
doing
have
that.
Tumors all over the place, for all I know.
Yeah, it's very wise. Very wise. Make sure you keep doing that.
I think so.
I also want to give a shout out to James Lynch. He's our MMA guy here. He did an interview with Colby Covington, who's a UFC fighter. Now, anybody listening to this or watching this...
Wait till you see who he's got this week.
I haven't talked to James, so I'll find out.
Well, Stipe Miocic's talked to James.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool. But anyway, so whether you're an MMA fan or not, I would like people to go on either Fightful.com or go on our YouTube channel and look up the interview with Colby Covington. And the reason I'm suggesting it is because this is a guy that gets it. This is a guy that understands that being good, whether in the ring or in the cage, isn't enough in 2017 now going into 2018. You have to understand how to cut a promo. You have to understand the entertainment side of the business. That's why Conor McGregor got a $100 million payday with Floyd McGregor. It had nothing to do with his in-ring ability. It's because he knew how to talk the talk. And Colby Covington understands that. And that interview was hilarious because he did everything from saying that his haters are virgins to saying that Robbie Lawler should retire. He's a UFC fighter, should retire. To take
friend of his.
Yeah.
It's his friend.
And he did it because he's just trying to ruffle feathers because he knows this is how you get ahead. So again, anybody, whether you're an MMA fan or not, you should check out that interview because he did that because he just gets it. He understands what you're supposed to do. So a shout out to Colby Covington. He's going to be a star because he's good in the cage and he understands the entertainment side of the business too. So he's going to be a star. 2018 is going to be his year.
Yeah, if he stays away from the random like sexual slurs and stuff like that, then I think he'll be.
I say keep on with it because it's funny. Keep it going.
I mean, not like dropping the F-bomb when you're getting hit in the face with a boomerang.
I mean, people, we've talked about it. People are so easily offended now, Sean, and insulted.
I don't know if using gay slurs is the look UFC wants.
McGregor's done it a bunch of times.
I know, it's not something they want to push. He had to apologize for it, too.
Are you kidding? If McGregor called Dana White tomorrow and said, hey, you know what, I'll fight on the December 30th card, they'd make room for him, Sean.
Yes, they would.
Yeah,
But Colby Covington is not Conor McGregor.
No, but you know what? He's got a shot.
I don't know if he's got a shot. I don't think he's a good fighter.
He is a good fighter.
I don't think he's I don't know if he's got what Conor McGregor has, but he's making an effort, and I can applaud that. But I don't know if dropping that type of stuff is the look UFC wants, and they're very hesitant to push people like that. But I think he's overcome it rather. Easy for me to say. They won him on The Ultimate Fighter. They won him in a top spot against Tyron Woodley. Tyron Woodley just got surgery. As he told Fightful.com he would late last month. It's just, you can't go around calling people that when if you want to be UFC champion. That's not like McGregor's already there. He doesn't need the UFC.
That's true. He doesn't now. He doesn't now.
Colby Covington still very much needs the UFC.
Yeah. I think they're going to need him too.
I don't know. I mean,
we'll
as
see
of
next
right
year
now,
goes.
he definitely needs them more.
Yeah, yeah. I also want to give you some props. I've read about maybe a quarter of it so far. So you did a big long-form article about the National Wrestling Alliance. Came out today. I see that you're already getting quite a bit of attention for it. You've got comments from Tim Storm in there, and Dave Lagana, and Colt Cabana, and a bunch of people. And I see a bunch of people that were either related to the NWA in some form or they are now, all retweeting the links and everything. So good job, man. That was I've known about this for a while because you've been telling me about it for a while. You put a lot of time in, and good for you, man. You're getting attention for it now.
Yeah, I had done the Hassan one, the Brawl for All. I did one last year at Fightful. Gerald Harris, one for Shane Crutchton, which Shane Crutchton was a guy I just was supposed to do a regular interview with, and then I heard his story, and I was like, I'm getting thousands and thousands of words out of that. And now he's signed to Bellator, so that's good. Earlier this year, I did one of the Kentucky Commission, and the NWA one's been pretty well received. In the Fightful Wrestling Weekly this weekend, I will talk about some of the people who I couldn't talk to. Like, of course, as soon as I decided I was going to do an NWA feature, like that week, Jeff Jarrett goes into rehab.
Right.
And, he's a guy who held the NWA title several times. What is James Ellsworth doing to my cat? I will kick his ass.
And you probably could. He's holding the cat thing in his because
what's that cat's name?
A man with two hands has a chance.
What's that cat's name?
I don't know. One of them is Oliver. Is that Oliver?
That's Melvin.
I was close. I was close.
Melvin doesn't have a tail.
They both have V's in the name. I was close. So that's good. So
yeah, guys, I definitely want you all to check out that NWA feature. There were some people that I didn't get to talk to that I wanted to, but what I do with these very often is when I get the opportunity to talk to those people, I'll release a revised version, a revisited version down the line,
right,
and kind of enhance it. And yeah.
Look at that.
Damn,
mug.
that focus got in there.
Yeah, it did. Look at that mug. Look at that.
Man, they even got like the little dents on his face.
Yeah. Oh, they got it all. It's good. Now, one other thing about the NWA quickly is so they were getting over this year because of the 10 Pounds of Gold web series. So that was pretty interesting that now Era Lucha is going to be doing a web series, it looks like, trying to use the NWA playbook, do a web series of their own. And you know what? Good for them. I hope it works out. I still think it's going to be a very tough sell trying to get a TV deal for that, but at least they're going to give it a shot.
Yeah, Tim Storm was a very special circumstance, too. Like, as you guys will hear in the full interview I did with him, the only thing I knew of him was that he was the 50-something-year-old guy who was NWA champion, and I only knew that because of their Wikipedia page.
Right.
And I judged the guy. I would take shots at him on Twitter, and I'm like, wonder how much this guy paid to be NWA champion.
Yeah.
Well, then you quickly see through 10 Pounds of Gold, that guy isn't in position to be paying to be NWA champion.
Right. Right.
There was a lot I liked about it. It was real. They didn't pretend like their champion was too big to have a day job.
Right.
Because, I mean, in this line of work, in pro wrestling, maybe Magnus doesn't have a day job, but that's probably because he saved his money from TNA and GFW and all that stuff. And he's got a wife that's in WWE. Tim Storm doesn't have that luxury. He's not like that. He's a 50-something-year-old dude who's got to be a school teacher in the afternoon. So there was a sense of realism to that I don't know if Era Lucha will be able to capture. They've got a guy, Sammy Guevara, who does his own vlogs and does very well with them. So I'll reserve judgment and see how it ends up.
Yeah, absolutely. Now let's talk about Raw on Monday night. I know that you were questioning with the post-Raw people, and I think even with the post-SmackDown podcast people, you were asking, why did they do Raw live this year? Why didn't they pre-tape it? I have a theory, Sean.
Because they sold the arena out?
Nope. That's actually not the reason. Although the fact it was in Chicago meant they were going to sell it out anyway. Yes. But that's not the reason. So this is my theory, and tell me if you think I might be onto something. So for about the last 2 years, John Cena's been a part-timer, right? Hasn't been on every show, hasn't been on every house show for a couple of years now. They know that every year John Cena does the MSG show, right?
Yeah.
They knew it fell on a Tuesday this year. And normally they have production people, like some cameramen, whatever, at the MSG show. Normally. That meant that some of that crew was going to be on the road. My theory is that when they saw the schedule, because I think it was like April that this was announced that they were going to do Raw Live, right? I think that when they recognized the schedule, I think Vince McMahon was probably thinking, I can get John for Monday night because he's going to do the MSG show. And a lot of the production people are already going to be on the road because they covered the MSG show. I think because of those two things, that's why Raw was live. I think they wanted to get the rub on Cena, and some of the people were going to be on the road already. That's my theory, Sean.
I don't doubt it, and good on John Cena for coming back and working that night. I know a lot of people were upset that Elias lost, but Elias losing to John Cena doesn't hurt a damn bit.
Not at all. I got a rub off John Cena.
Yep.
I think so.
Elias's punches are so bad, though. I just want to point that out. His punches are so bad. I like so much about that. Damn, he's got to work on those punches.
On the top of your head, because I know this is a very tough thing to think of on the fly. Top of your head, who has the worst punches in wrestling, maybe history, and who has the worst kicks potentially in wrestling history? Because I can think of a guy like that for, I think, worst punches or worst kicks. Who do you think off the top of your head? So worst punches in wrestling history, Bubba Ray Dudley, without question.
Yeah, they're pretty bad.
Terrible. Like he does the 1970s stomp, like his punches are awful, and especially considering this guy runs a wrestling school, you should be ashamed of yourself for your punches. And then worst kicks in wrestling history, my opinion, the British Bulldog. With all due respect to those who have passed, if you watch any of the British Bulldog matches, his kicks would not have bent paper, Sean.
I thought so. Well, in late '95, it's funny because that's something I noticed of him. Late '95, they were looking kind of good, and then it just went right back to where it was. I can tell you who one of the best punches I always thought was Razor Ramon. Man, that guy.
You know who else I loved? The Big Boss Man, Ray Traylor.
Yeah.
I thought his punches were excellent. He was one of the few guys that didn't stomp, and he would throw uppercuts. Remember that?
Both Kane and Roman Reigns throw very good, like worked uppercuts.
Right.
Roman Reigns actually, it's amazing to me how bad like his clotheslines can be because his work punches are so good. Here's one that I've mentioned on the show before as best these days. Sonya Deville throws some of the best strikes in WWE. If you go and watch her, man, like ground and pound, it looks good. Now, this is particularly impressive to me, Jimmy, because I don't know how many people I've seen like from my own team that have the trouble adapting from really punching somebody to working and punching somebody, because we've had a lot of guys on our catch wrestling team work pro wrestling matches, and you got to make that transition. You can't beat the crap out of people in there. Sonya Deville had an MMA background, and she was able to transition like just seamlessly. Her knees are really good, punches are good, really good stuff out of her.
Remember the Shamrock Vader match? Remember that?
Ew.
That was something. That match, because I think wasn't that Shamrock's first match on television?
I think it might have been.
I think it was in like '97, right? I think. And
yeah,
man,
Shamrock said in an interview, actually with Vince Russo, that he thought Steve Blackman, of all the people besides Dan Severn, probably stood the best chance of beating him up.
Right. Oh, I have you ever heard the? I think it was the JBL story about Blackman at the luggage carousel.
Yeah, where Blackman beat up JBL, and JBL told people that before he even knew he was in a fight, Blackman had hit him like 6 times.
Well, no, but it was Blackman was getting ready to throw a kick.
Yeah.
And so you know when the guy's getting ready because he like bends the knees, and he was getting ready to throw a kick, and the guys that were watching were like, he's gonna friggin' kill JBL because he's gonna throw a kick. And right when he went to bend the knees and went to swing the leg around, he didn't realize that his foot was in the handle of a bag. And so when he was about to do the move, he couldn't because his leg was caught in a suitcase. Otherwise, he might have taken JBL's head off.
Oh, yeah.
At the luggage carousel. So he was somebody that was very well respected. And then if you look at pictures of Blackman now, he's still in phenomenal shape.
Oh yeah, so. I tried to track him down for the Brawl for All article actually, and he's kind of off the radar.
Right.
As Sammy Olay says, Aleister Black has some of the best kicks. Yeah, he throws a spinning wheel kick, his finish, better than most MMA fighters that I saw. And when I saw Edson Barboza do that kick in an MMA fight to Terry Edom, I got in the gym for like every day for 2 or 3 months till I learned how to do that kick. it's real hard. And the fact that he is able to do it every single time, connect and not hurt somebody, that's that's remarkable. It's incredible.
Sure. All right, let's talk about the U.S. title tournament. So to recap quickly, last week, Dolph Ziggler wins the title at Clash of Champions on the Sunday, goes on to SmackDown on the Tuesday, cuts a promo about how he's too good for us, we don't deserve him, leaves the belt in the ring and walks away. Daniel Bryan this week on SmackDown said, well, I tried to call him and text him. He didn't get back to me, so we're going to do a tournament. The title is vacant. And they did 2 matches this week on SmackDown. Bobby Roode beat Baron Corbin, which says a lot, I think, for Baron Corbin's future, potentially. And Jinder Mahal beat Ty Dillinger. And my question to you is, personal opinion, it's a waste of time, this whole thing. Personal opinion. And the way I look at it is, if that belt is so meaningless to Dolph Ziggler that he's going to leave it in the ring the day after winning it or 2 days after winning it, why does it mean anything for these guys to be in a tournament competing for it? And you and I have talked about this before. All they got to do is say, when you're the U.S. champion, you're the second highest paid guy on the card behind the WWE champion. That's all they got to do. And then it would make sense that these guys would be battling over this title, but they don't say stuff like that. So to me, the whole tournament's just a waste of time. Because Ziggler's already showed the title means shit, right?
Yeah, that's a way to put it. And yeah, that's why I've never liked vacating titles if you can help it.
Yeah.
I just think it's bad.
I mean, Ziggler was like 5 minutes away from saying he lost his smile, you know?
That's actually what Anna said on last week's show.
Oh, did she really?
That Ziggler lost his smile again.
Right, yeah. So
yeah, man, like there's no other way to put it, but besides that the title is portrayed like it doesn't mean anything.
Yeah.
Now, you do have the fortune of having a guy like Jinder Mahal in there who just had that terrible WWE title run, but you see him go from the WWE title, and he is worried about the U.S. title. He wants that U.S. title, and I thought that he conveyed that in a wonderful manner on SmackDown. And also, Bobby Roode and Baron Corbin had a really good match. I thought that Jinder Mahal's performance on SmackDown was one of the best that he's ever had, and because he wasn't working – like, I had somebody try to tell me, oh, he's a mixture of the old school style and the new school fast-paced style. And I'm like, no, he's not. He's not. But this match that he had this past week that did fit that. But other than that, he was just boring as dirt. But I'm here to see what happens with the U.S. title. At what point do you think they integrate Dolph Ziggler back into this?
I don't even care, to be honest with you. What's the point? I mean,
yeah.
I mean,
they wanted
had the
to be
title.
Shawn Michaels so bad, but he's not. Does he show up with the?
Yeah, but he wasn't injured. He wasn't injured, right?
He just there was Shawn Michaels.
No, but that was kind of played into the story with Shawn, wasn't it? Like they were making like he was hurt because in reality he didn't want to drop the title to Brett. So I think Shawn made like he was hurt. He saw one doctor. His doctor said your knee's
Maybe
bad.
Dolph doesn't want to drop the title to Brett either.
Maybe he doesn't.
It's not out of the realm of possibility. He just dropped it to Brett a few years ago.
Maybe, but I just don't care. But the company has programmed me to not care about Dolph Ziggler, or to care about his involvement in the tournament, or to care about his involvement over the U.S. title. So I don't care what the plan is for Dolph Ziggler.
Same thing all the time.
Yeah.
I don't get what I deserve all the time. Every single time that they show a sliver of interest in building character for this guy, it's not building character. It's rehashing the same thing.
Yeah. So we're just going to go ahead and move on. So a couple of notable injuries. I saw you did a YouTube video for this.
Yeah.
Dean Ambrose, he underwent surgery to repair a partially torn tricep. Company claims he's going to be out for 9 months. That sounds like a storyline time frame to me. I don't think it'll be 9 months. Mania might be a long shot, but I think it'll be close for Mania. But 9 months.
I don't think he's sitting out 9 months at all.
No, and then the other one was Brian Kendrick. So, and I think this one is going to look bad on Hideo Itami personally. But and they already changed his finisher. But anyway, so Brian Kendrick on Raw, he took a go to sleep from Itami, and WWE's official report on it is that he has an orbital wall fracture and a minimally displaced nasal bridge fracture, which is a really nice way of saying broken nose and broken orbital bone. And it's funny because before I went back and saw some of the 205 Live clips just today I went back and looked at some of the clips. I was going to say on this podcast that I think this whole thing does not bode well for Tommy because, number one, he's new to the main roster. Number two, he's a smaller Japanese wrestler. That means that he's behind the 8 ball right out of the gate. He can't cut promos, which puts him behind the ball more. And now if he's going to get into Vince McMahon's head that he might be reckless and unsafe, I just don't see it boding well for him. But 205 Live, he did the Rings of Saturn instead of the Go to Sleep, meaning that they already, looks like, have decided to go away from that move with him and give him Neville's old finisher, it looks like.
Yeah.
So...
Gave him Neville's finish.
Yeah.
Woo.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, basically his offense is a problem then. And the thing is, like, the offense that he needs to look really tough never does. And the offense that he can get away with not looking that rough and hurting people is the move that he hurt somebody with. Like, right. maybe I'm missing out, but I don't remember a ton of injuries off of that move, even though it can be a dangerous move. Mm-hmm. I'm not high on Hideo Itami, and I've never been high on him since he came over from Noah. And he and Finn Balor, their matches on NXT were very similar, but Hideo's didn't have any heat to them. Mm-hmm. Just not a fan. I am, however, a fan of that NWA article that I did today.
You're a fan of your own article?
Yeah, hell, goddamn right I am. Of course I am.
Good for you, man.
Hopefully you guys will be a fan of this interview I did with Tim Storm. Here's part one. You have spoken about how maybe some promoters have offered to pay you to drop the title or do something with the title ahead of that situation. What goes through your mind when you're given that offer? Because as Dave said, the amount you were offered was probably more than what they were going to give you.
Oh, definitely. It was, and I'm not going to lie and say I didn't think about it. I didn't take it serious. But anytime money's part of the equation, I think anybody would be lying to say, no, I won't even think about it, because that's just that would be a lie. When somebody offers me, and I don't want to get into who and where, and,
sure,
how much, because I don't want to throw anybody on the bus, but there were some guys who they were very tricky about it. I don't mean to me, because they were telling me what they want, but they were giving me a way to kind of opt out of the, you can pretend like you didn't know this was going to happen, but again, if I'm sincere, and I am, about approaching this stuff professionally, that couldn't even be a possibility. So again, I'm not going to lie. When money starts getting thrown around, it gets your attention, but it's still, no matter how much money, it doesn't make it the right thing to do. And if I do something like that, then everything that I have said that I am, and everything that I said that the NWA World's title means to me, it then becomes a lie. Because my goal when I started making the NWA a priority before, under the old ownership, my goal was to try to do anything I could to make the NWA more relevant, because a lot of people say it wasn't relevant at all. Mm-hmm. So I mean that if I'm sincere about that, then those things weren't even an option. I'm going to do what's best for the NWA, for the NWA World Heavyweight Champion, and for the future of, hopefully what is going to be a great future for, for the promotion. So, yeah, tempting, sure. I'm not a liar, but I'm also, it wasn't a legitimate even decision. It was easy, do the right thing.
Yeah, it's kind of the direction I'm working on a long form on, and I've talked to you and Dave Lagana, Dan Severn, and a couple other people about how 10 pounds of gold made me care about this again. Like, I was just like, okay, here we go again. And we've seen in the past, like Colt Cabana and Adam Pearce try to make people care again. And the rug kind of got pulled from underneath them. We often hear about politics with the fabled board of NWA, like having a board in 2016, 2017, and how different that is. Did you ever face any of those types of politics as the champion?
I know that they existed. I didn't deal with them personally. I have a very, and I'm not always right, by the way, but I have a very clear vision, a very clear definition in my head of what an NWA World's Champion should be, and how he should conduct business, and how he should deal with different, at the time, I don't know. It varied a lot over the years. Sometimes I think they were up to 50 and sometimes they were in the, 20-something promotions, affiliates. But as I went to those different promotions, I went in really with one goal, and that was to represent the NWA World Heavyweight Championship in the best way possible. And that's what I tried to do. All those political things that happened, fortunately for me, that was being handled by, mostly I want to give James Beard the credit for that, because I know his job became to put out fires. And I know it was very frustrating for him at times where the politics would pop up, and his job was to, he took it upon himself to try to put those fires out, to be the voice of reason. And, I didn't have to deal with a lot of those personally. Now, there were times when I could show up at a promotion and, I kind of saw my role, and again, I want to be careful. I don't want to compare myself to anybody as far as wrestling ability or any of that. But I saw my role as world champion. I wanted to be more in the Ric Flair mold. For me, what that meant was I want to come into a promotion. I want to wrestle whoever it is that they've booked me against, and I want that person. I want everybody in the building to believe that person had a legitimate shot at the NWA World title.
All right.
Are we back, Jimmy?
I don't know. Are we, Nigel?
Oh, yeah, we're back.
We're back.
We're back.
There you go.
We just got donated to GBP on the YouTube Super Chat. Jimmy, did they slip it into your G-string?
Be hard to access it underneath this Edmonton Oilers sweater, but not only that, but you know that they use a lot of coins there now, Sean. You're not going to get £2 in a bill so much anymore. They do a lot of coins.
I noticed that in Canada too when I was there. I would get change back in coins very often, and here, I don't keep coins at all.
Yeah. Well, they do that because obviously they last a lot longer, so that you're not having to get new ones out of the mint every. However long the bill lasts.
I'm shocked that Canada is a little ahead of America.
Oh yeah, it happens. That's so. With Dean Ambrose injured, WWE decided, let's inject Jason Jordan into the team with Seth Rollins instead, since Roman Reigns is off being a single again anyway. And Jason Jordan and Seth Rollins beat Cesaro and Sheamus on Raw for the tag team titles. Looks to me like they're going to just continue with a slow build towards a heel turn for Jason Jordan. And I'm all for this. I mean, we talked about it before. The guy's fire in the ring. He's an elite-level athlete. Looks like $1 million. Character development is where he's lacking. And so a slow build heel turn, I'm all for it. And we'll see where it goes, man. But I like the direction.
I do too. And, maybe this culminates in some sort of Jason Jordan versus Seth Rollins feud. And I think Seth Rollins is the right guy to have against Jason Jordan in that regard. Because and incorporating Samoa Joe is too, because he brings it together very well. But I loved what they did with the tag titles on Monday, because it was two guys who didn't want to be around each other, didn't like each other. But as soon as Kurt Angle says, okay, but I'm giving you a shot at these titles, it was like the opposite of the U.S. title thing where Dolph Ziggler laid it down. These two guys who didn't like each other are like, well, now I kind of like you. For this, I'll like you. For this, I'll make it work because these are important. And then when they won them, there wasn't like that looking at each other like, oh, this sucks. Seth Rollins was stoked. He was stoked that he got that championship. And this is a guy who's been world champion, who has technically headlined WrestleManias. I thought there was a lot that Seth Rollins did on this episode of Raw that put over a lot of things. He put over the entire roster, Jimmy. He told Jason Jordan, you can't just lose and say, well, I hung there with top competition. Seth Rollins said the entire roster is top competition. And I think 5 weeks before you're about to have a match where the whole roster's in it, little things like that go a long way. So shout out to Seth Rollins for, this is a veteran role he's being put into, and he's doing it perfectly.
Well, speaking of, as you alluded to, the Royal Rumble, where everybody's going to be fighting everybody, Sky Bet, which is a sports betting site out of the UK, they currently have John Cena favored.
Why are you saying their names like they're paying us, Jimmy? They ain't paying us anything.
Well, because
it's a top online casino.
No, because I don't know if they're a top online casino, and I think that listing John Cena as the favorite is stupid. And that's why I'm mentioning the name, so that people can check out the lunacy of this whole thing. And maybe if you want to put down money against John Cena, feel free to do it, because John Cena is not winning the Royal Rumble. So if you want to do that, go ahead and do that. Now, in terms of who I think is going to win the Rumble, because it's not going to be John Cena, and it's not going to be Randy Orton either, because Randy Orton, I'll get to in a minute, he's taking time off. I think it's going to depend on what brand they choose needs that story, that built-in story. If they decide, okay, we need a story to tell the tale of who's going to challenge Brock Lesnar for the Universal title, then Roman Reigns is going to win. If they decide we need to tell the story of who's going to challenge for the SmackDown WWE title, then I think Shinsuke Nakamura is going to win. My personal opinion. So, but I think it's dependent on what brand they decide to go with. Not going to be John Cena. And Randy Orton, Dave Meltzer reported that Orton is going to be reducing his schedule even more next year. He's taken most of January off. He is not scheduled for anything between February 6th and April 9th, except for the Fastlane pay-per-view on March 11th. No chance they're going to put him over in the Rumble if he's taken most of that quarter off. So I think Reigns or Shinsuke, man. What do you think?
So, oh boy, you just never know until it happens, but
barring injury.
Rumors, like there are rumors that some people are being talked to that Dave Bautista wants to come back. Do I think he'll win the Royal Rumble? No. Although I feel like there's a lot that's been done in the 4 years he's been gone I think he'll be looked at favorably. I don't think he'll get those boos now because, the audience is very smart.
Yes.
And they see him, and the stories in Daniel Bryan's book and on CM Punk's podcast aren't exactly like secrets or anything like that. So I think he's looked at favorably, plus he's a big movie star.
Yeah.
As you mentioned, it depends on what story has to be told.
Yeah.
The Raw pay-per-view right after that is Elimination Chamber. I think it makes all too much sense to have a livid Stephanie. It makes sense to WWE, not to me. To have a livid Stephanie McMahon come out and 15 of you all couldn't win the Royal Rumble. Well, you're going to have to earn your shot in the Elimination Chamber.
Sorry, was Stephanie drinking before she cut that promo? You sound a little inebriated on that one, man.
Mother Goose coming, making sure it happens, and then she throws 6 people in the Elimination Chamber. 6 people that she allegedly hates. She's going to give championship opportunities to, because that's the way it works.
Do you know if Stephanie's a smoker? Is she a smoker?
I don't think so.
You'd think because of her dad she wouldn't be, right? You'd think.
Well, and her husband. Like,
and
Triple H doesn't smoke, drink, do anything.
Yeah, he doesn't do anything. Because her voice has gotten deeper as she's gotten older. Like, she's about 10 years away from Lucille Ball at this point.
No comment.
I say it because I just feel like it. And that's what I felt like saying. So, back to the Fastlane pay-per-view. March 11, it's a SmackDown branded show from the Nationwide Arena in Columbus, Ohio. On the venue's website, nationwidearena.com, they're advertising a main event, fatal 5-way match for the WWE Championship, featuring, this is according to the website, AJ Styles versus Randy Orton versus Shinsuke Nakamura versus Kevin Owens versus Sami Zayn. That'd be a hell of a matchup if that's the way that they decide to go. And it looks like when you look at that as the possible matchup, that maybe they're going to be utilizing that in order to create a story for WrestleMania on the SmackDown side, meaning that Roman Reigns runs the Rumble to get Brock. Because they could very easily have AJ drop the title in that match and then get a rematch at Mania. Very easy to do that. Or they could have AJ win on a technicality because it's a 5-person match. So maybe he wins on a technicality, and then whoever supposedly gets screwed gets a match at Mania. I mean, there's lots of things they could do. So.
Well, I got to say this. I hate the idea of having multiple person championship matches the month after 30 people fight to get a title shot. I think that's stupid. It's counterproductive. It's weird. I hope it's something WWE's just throwing out there, or the arena just threw out there with the card subject to change, because I think it is really, really dumb to have 4 or 5 other people get title shots like a month or 2 after they failed to get one in a 30-man over the top. It buries the concept of the Royal Rumble. I don't know. This is something I mentioned in the Fightful Books It podcast I did, Royal Rumble Changes. That's up at fightfulpods.com right now.
Yeah, I mean, and usually when they do those types of matches, it's because they don't have anything for the champion, right? I mean, AJ, he had a match with Kevin Owens this week, but it wasn't really based on any, current storyline with those two guys. They just did it because he's done with Jinder Mahal. So you know, who knows? Maybe they're doing this because they don't have anything for him. I would
Well, that's
love
what
to
happens
see
when you sacrifice the quality of your programming for about 9 months.
Right, exactly. And you're too afraid to get behind certain talents and put them over everybody else. That's why they did 50-50 booking on everybody, right? So let's talk about Mr. McMahon. I went into detail last week on this podcast about his plans to jump back into pro football from a business standpoint, and how he's using his own money and how he's using a new entity and how he can use dividend money tax-free and the corporate tax rates dropping and all that stuff. Chris Harrington, who does some stuff for us, he revealed on Twitter that on December 21st, Vince sold 3.34 million shares of WWE stock for around $100 million, give or take. I looked up the capital gains tax because I don't know what that is in the U.S. per se, and I don't know what the dollar value is on the stock at the time that he was given the stock. So I don't know what the capital gains is dollar value-wise, but the tax rate's probably about 20%, I think. So that means he's going to have to pay the capital gains on that money, but the rest of it now is going to be available to him for this venture. And then Daryl Ravel from ESPN, he posted on Twitter that Vince's Alpha Entertainment entity has taken over 5 XFL trademarks. Personally, I think that that's for retro merchandise only. I do not think he's planning on using the XFL brand for a new venture. I also still, like I said last week, I don't think he's planning to launch a football league. I think that that's a lot of speculation on the part of other people. I don't think that's the plan, and I think he just wants to have XFL footballs and retro T-shirts, and that's all.
So that's what he's doing with $100 million?
No, the $100 million is towards the football league venture, whatever it is.
Yeah.
But the trademarks, I think he got them now because of the retro merchandise.
Sure, why not?
I mean, I don't blame him at all. Sure, I mean, like you just talked about, they're doing the Hasbros, right?
Yeah.
So that's
retro
a big thing
content
now.
Is a big thing on our website.
And I guarantee you, anybody, because we don't know what this football thing's going to be, and like I've talked about, I think it's going to be somehow related to either the NFL somehow, or it's going to be arena football or something. Whatever it is, if people are going to a game and if they see XFL stuff there, or if they have a website for it, people are going to buy it. I mean, they just are. So
yeah,
you know,
like I like it. Like I said, retro content's a big part of our website. We're doing a Royal Rumble alternate commentary tonight, for the love of God. So I mean, that stuff, it's popular and it's in.
It is. Let's go to Stupid People, Nigel.
All right.
This is a stupid song, it just goes on and on. You might find some meaning, but you would be wrong.
So a couple of weeks ago, Sean, I told you that my goal was to have at least one story a week that is part of the Sean Ross Sapp file, right?
Yeah.
So I want at least one story a week about penises or shit. And last week I went 1 for 1.
You had to be so vulgar about it, didn't you?
I tell it like it is. I'm 2 for 2 this week, Sean. All right? Because I got another one, and these are not hard to find. So trevorstrong.org. Check out that for the usage of the stupid song. And so this first one, Sean, this I think was meant to be a joke, and it was meant to be humorous. But I put it on here because I thought it was stupid, because it again shows that people just have to be they just got to be a downer sometimes, Sean. Even if they're trying to be funny, they got to be a downer, right? And that's why I put it on here. It was published by the RCGP, which is the Royal College of General Practitioners in the UK, on December 23rd. They actually wrote a report talking about how Santa Claus is setting a bad example for children when it comes to health due to too much eating, too much drinking, and too many grueling night shifts. Then they actually went through the hassle or whatever of listing all of the potential health risks that Santa Claus is dealing with, including
too many night shifts.
Yeah, because of delivering all the presents overnight.
Yeah,
right?
I get it, but like
I had to explain that to Sean, Nigel.
No, I work at night very often.
It's almost like when Sean said to me last week, he said, "Hey, wish Nigel well, will you?" Yeah, okay. Hey, Nigel.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I said to wish everybody in the office well.
You said Lindsay and Nigel. Because they were going to take photos from the Christmas party, which they did.
Sure.
So we never talked about that, by the way. How was the Christmas party for you?
Oh man, that was a hell of a night.
It was a good time, right?
Yeah,
Well, we'll talk about that after the stupid people.
All right. So, Professor Helen Stokes Lampard, who is the chair of the RCGP, She was quoted in this report as saying, quote, although he sets a brilliant example of good behavior and teaches the importance of giving rather than receiving, he could probably do more to encourage healthy lifestyles, something youngsters and adults alike can benefit from. So even though they might have been trying to be funny, they were basically like a bag of wet hair. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
What's the point of being just a downer like that? Why'd you have to do that? Maybe because they're doctors and they consider themselves to be at a higher level intelligently. Maybe they thought, oh, this is funny to us. You know what I mean? Because we know stuff that you don't know, kind of thing.
Well, first off,
I just thought it was stupid.
They're telling people, they're telling kids like don't work at night. Do night shifts.
Yes, more or less. Yeah.
Okay. Well, I think it sets more of a bad example that it's cool to go down people's chimneys. Because that's how you get shot. I have seen things on Investigation Discovery where they found bodies like 10 years later stuck in chimneys.
Yeah.
That shit ain't cool. It ain't smart.
Do you remember Gremlins?
I do.
And what's her name tells a story about how her dad was going to go down the chimney and he broke his neck?
There you go.
So, right. And they found him like a week later, Sean, in the movie.
Ugh.
So, because they smelled something. Thought it was a dead raccoon in the chimney.
Oh, God.
Or whatever it was. So this next one, this one's something, man. It was reported by the New York Post on December 20. You got to try to picture this one, Sean. And this is a real story, all right? A 36-year-old man from Staten Island, New York, his name is Mazen Dayem, is accusing his wealthy father-in-law, a 62-year-old man named Yunes Dole, of making his life hell by wearing a supposedly menacing bushy toupee that makes him look like the Tasmanian devil from the Bugs Bunny cartoons, because the 36-year-old claims that it triggers a lifelong phobia of the Tasmanian devil for him.
Oh my God! Some of the okay.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. And let's carry on. The father-in-law was arrested in November on felony charges, Sean, of violating a restraining order because he was at a funeral where the 36-year-old was at. He wore the hairpiece. He took it off and he waved it at his son-in-law during the funeral. And so for that, he violated a restraining order and he got arrested on a felony. The son-in-law spoke to the New York Post, and this is a quote. And this is real. He really said this. I truly and genuinely have a large fear of wigs now. It's a genuine fear. I have nightmares.
Some of the things that people are afraid of are super weird. Did you ever see that episode of Maury Povich or the clip where the woman is like afraid of balloons?
No, but I've seen a bunch like that. I've seen
my
stuff
God,
like
this one's great because they show them on the big screen, and she goes running to the back, and Maury's reaction is the best. He goes, "Oh, you don't want to go back there," and she runs right into a room full of balloons.
Right. She could have had a stroke. Like, he should be smarter than that, you know?
Oh, she bumped off the
balloon
balloon
did
sighting.
she?
Yeah, she was.
But this is a 36-year-old grown man that says he's afraid of a cartoon, and his father-in-law is waving a toupee, and now he's got a... What's wrong with this world, Sean? Seriously.
Well, the Tasmanian devil is a bit of an intimidating figure.
Is it?
Sure.
For a cartoon character on the Bugs Bunny show.
Pretty intimidating. If you were to point out one character, which character is going to give you nightmares? You know, maybe it's the hunter with a speech impediment and a poor shot. Maybe
Elmer
it's him.
Fudd, yeah.
Maybe it's him. Maybe it's the gun crazy dude with a stupid mustache.
Yosemite Sam. I know all of them, man.
Fires off. Maybe it's him. Maybe it's the Monstars. Maybe it's them. Maybe it's the Tasmanian devil.
Maybe for a 3-year-old, not so much a 36-year-old man.
Who am I to judge?
The Post had pictures of him and the father really was wearing like a bushy toupee. It was obviously a toupee that he was wearing on his head.
Hope he was wearing one of those like old sweatshirts without the hood that had like the cartoon.
So I'm not going to question what line of work he's in, but let's just say he was wearing a jumpsuit with chains around his neck, Sean.
Is this real?
Yeah.
Oh.
It was in the New York Post, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. So look it up. Last but not least.
Why do I need to look? You just told me the goddamn story.
The pictures. The pictures I meant. Look up the pictures.
Okay.
Usually you're doing that while I'm talking. You're like Googling shit over there usually. So this is for the Sean Ross Sapp file. I'm going to create a file called the Sean Ross Sapp file. And it was reported by
you have.
I'm going to. It was reported by the UK Sun on December 21st. Okay, this is a good one. The man with supposedly the second largest penis in the world, 47-year-old Jonah Falcon. He's from the U.S. He supposedly has a 13.5-inch penis. Okay.
So you're telling me Ellsworth's record is safe?
I'm going to tell you about number one. So the guy who's number two, Jonah Falcon, he's accusing the guy who's number one, a 54-year-old man from Mexico named Roberto Esquivel Cabrera. He's accusing him of cheating by using weights to stretch his penis to its reported size of 18.9 inches. Okay? Falcon said, and this is a quote, "I think it's ridiculous and he seems kind of desperate. No matter how big he is, it's not going to change the fact that I'm 13.5 inches. He actually said that to the
He's
Sun.
got a better promo than some wrestlers.
yeah, he actually cut a promo about it. Now,
This 13.5-inch python, brother.
now, this Roberto guy, he made the news in 2015. You guys might have even seen this. Videos went viral of him measuring his penis. He had it all wrapped. And he was measuring it, and videos went viral. And apparently, to be fair to Jonah Falcon, the alleged number two guy, to be fair to him, apparently the Mexican guy really did use weights to stretch his penis, and apparently his actual penis is normal size, and all that length is just foreskin. Apparently he's like predominantly foreskin. And apparently people have been telling him, just basically get a circumcision and you'll be a regular human being and you can live a regular life. And this guy is thinking, because he's like an idiot in Mexico somewhere, he's thinking, no, I'm going to be a porn star in the U.S. I'm keeping it the way it is. Even though he's debilitated, he can barely walk, walking around with 18 inches worth of foreskin. But,
okay, so I'll try to boy.
as you like to say, Sean, there's a lot to unpack here.
There is, and they've got plenty packed. Although, first off, okay, all that foreskin, man. If that's what it takes, I'll settle for the silver medal. I don't need the piece of the aggro crag from Nickelodeon Guts that shows me that I've got the 18-incher.
I agree.
How do you walk?
So if you look at, there's pictures and video footage. He has pants with one leg extra wide.
I hope you were going to say just one leg, and he keeps it down the non-leg.
Yeah, no, and he,
can see it.
it literally goes to his knees. And whenever, like, there's a lot of photos of him where he, like, takes it out because he's got it all wrapped because it was chafing, like, when he walks and stuff. So he's got it all wrapped up. When he takes it out, this thing is the size of a fucking like, this big around, Sean. It's like that big around. And it's because he apparently really did attach weights with rubber bands, and he was just pulling on both sides of the foreskin, just making it kind of stretch out. That's really all he did. So now that's what he's dealing with.
Buying a Ferrari made of plastic. Like, what good is it?
Yeah, and kind of, sort of. And so the guy from YouPorn was quoted in the story as saying, okay, I've offered this guy one role kind of thing. We'll bring him out. We'll do one scene with him. I'll get a couple of girls in there. We'll see if we can get anything out of it. But they don't expect that he's going to be able to actually do anything.
The 18-inch guy?
The 18-inch guy. Because it's all foreskin, so they don't think he's going to be able to actually do anything.
So, like, and here's the thing. Like, you don't attach weights to your wanger unless you're trying to show it off to somebody. Like,
which is what he's doing.
Pornhub was the end game there. That was there's no reason you.
But he's
get into
54.
that.
He's been doing this for like 30, 40 years.
Okay, so Penthouse was the end game. Like VHS back in the day was the end game.
Yeah.
But it's just, man.
I think that he thought, because with all due respect to him, I saw a video where he shows off his living accommodations. His house is about as big as this media room that we're in right now. And so I think that he thought, this is my way out. This is, other guys might choose music or sports or acting or something. For him, my way out is I'm going to stretch my dick and I'm going to do Penthouse. That's basically what he thought was going to be his way out.
Things sure will be different, he thought.
Yeah, exactly. Yep. I'm headed for the big time.
You remember Uncle Rico in Napoleon Dynamite?
Been a long time. Vaguely.
He was like, I bet I could toss a pigskin over them mountains. This guy was just like, bet I can toss a foreskin over this shoulder.
And he could, Sean.
He could.
Yeah. So moving on. So in the past, I was very critical of Will Ospreay. And I was critical of the way he handled the Vader situation. And I stand by everything I said. He was a spoiled kid and blah, 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 blah. Now, I will say in defense of Will Ospreay that was a few years ago. I'd like to think he's grown up since then. I'd like to think that he's matured since then. He's great in the ring, as we've seen. Gabe Sapolsky, who is obviously one of the executives at WWN/Evolve, he did an interview with Sports Illustrated, and he kind of revealed that Will Ospreay's exclusive contract with Ring of Honor has expired, and Will Ospreay has committed to working the Evolve shows WrestleMania weekend in New Orleans, which I think is very interesting. And I think that the reason Will Ospreay is doing that is because he's looking to get into WWE, I think. And I think that he thinks Evolve is the connection, right? Because Evolve and WWE have a relationship. So what do you think of that, man? Will Ospreay is kind of foregoing an exclusive Ring of Honor deal, at least for now. And he's going to do the Evolve shows Mania weekend.
I think that's very, very good for Evolve because they need some good, positive publicity right now, and I think that's a good way to do it. Ospreay, like you hear reports that he's already feeling that style and the tolls that it takes on his body. And hey, if Ricochet ends up there in a month or two,
right,
and you put Will Ospreay versus Ricochet on, that can be the main roster's Pete Dunne versus Tyler Bate.
Right.
And hey, if you get Tyler Bate and Pete Dunne in on that 205 Live too, I mean, you might really, and just let them go and do what they do. You might garner some real interest in it, but
right.
That's all possibilities and maybes. I get the feeling they're going to get one look at a Will Ospreay and a Ricochet, and they might try to make them their next Rey Mysterio in the heavyweight division, though.
Maybe. I mean, it seems like they've tried to recreate that magic many times over, and
Sure.
I think they've learned, or hopefully they've learned, that being good in the ring isn't enough. Rey Mysterio didn't get over just because he was good in the ring, right? So
yeah, it's because he had an 18.5-inch penis that he hung weights from.
There you go. Part of his finisher. It was part of the 619. It went the other way, Sean.
Yeah.
So, so let's talk about The Miz. So I've told you this before. I don't care for awards. You're not going to find me watching the Oscars. I'm not going to watch the Grammys or the Emmys or any of that shit. I think it's all bullshit, political, subjective, means nothing to me. But I am going to give props to The Miz because Rolling Stone named him their Wrestler of the Year for 2017. And I think that he deserves the accolade, even though I don't really care about the award itself, because I think that he had a great year in 2017. I think that Maurice revitalized his career in 2016 when she came back. I think that the landscape now in WWE especially is that wrestlers now, as we talked about before, they don't know how to cut a promo without following the script. They have trouble improvising. They have trouble thinking on the fly, reading a crowd. We even saw it with Roman Reigns when he did the program with Cena, and Cena chewed him up and spit him out because Roman Reigns could not keep up with John Cena on the mic. And Roman Reigns, to me, represents, I'd say, 80% of the locker room, and that they're not able to just follow bullets. They're not able to listen to the crowd. They're not able to think on the fly. They get the pressure gets to them, and they lose their train of thought and their focus. Miz is one of the select few, and you could probably count him on one hand, I think, in WWE now, maybe two hands. He's one of the select few that has that ability, and that's why when you have things such as LeVar Ball being a guest on Raw, they go to The Miz because they know this is a segment that's going to go off the rails, and there's only a couple of guys that could probably handle it without kicking his ass like Brock Lesnar would, and The Miz is one of those guys, and that's why he gets those opportunities. So I thought he deserved the accolade from Rolling Stone, so good for him.
Yeah, he's been great, and especially that year period, like between July of last year, July of this year, a career revitalization after that horrible babyface run where he got really bad in the ring. Like I don't know if he wasn't motivated or whatever, but he seems happy. He spent his Christmas on a USO tour with like Gail Kim and Alicia Fox, so good on him for doing that too.
Yep, absolutely. And then Deborah McMichael. I want to give props to Deborah McMichael. So she is 57 years old now, Sean. Mm-hmm. And she posted on Twitter that she just got her master's degree in criminology and criminal justice from the University of Alabama. And I want to give props to her for doing that, especially at her age. It takes some guts and some motivation, determination to get that done. And so good on her. And she's one of the people, you hear over the years about certain people. She's one of the people that you never hear anything bad about.
Yeah.
Everybody always says how kind she was in real life.
Except that her
and how
cookies
genuine
suck.
she was. Really? Is that true?
I mean, that was the thing. The Austin skit backstage.
Oh,
where she brought cookies, and everybody hated the cookies that she made.
Oh, really? God,
Yeah.
I don't remember that anymore. It's been so long. But so good on her for doing that. I told you about that Gallagher thing on TSN a long time ago when she was on the panel with Sable and Chyna, and they had Deborah right in the middle between the two of them, and Sable and Chyna are jawing back and forth like legitimately as a shoot. And Deborah was sitting there in the middle as kind of like the saving grace of the segment, I guess. So good on her for being able to do that, man.
Yeah, a Facebook friend of mine. Deborah is a wonderful lady.
Absolutely. Seems to be the case. That's all I got on my list, buddy.
It's all you got on your list.
I told you it's not a ton of news going on Christmas week, man.
Oh, there's plenty of news going on.
Really?
There's plenty of news going on because on our forums, people wanted the bio of Jimmy Van.
I heard about that. Yeah, I heard. Was that just an alias of you, Sean?
No, it wasn't.
No?
I wish I had the time to make up aliases to post on our own forums.
Really?
But unfortunately, I don't.
You said you were going to interview me? This is what you
Yeah.
posted? I saw that?
Yeah, I am.
Nobody cares about that, Sean.
People care about it, Jimmy.
Oh, really?
They do.
What-
I bet in the YouTube chat right now, people are about to just start feeding me questions.
Is that right? Why are you asking Nigel to send you stuff? Is Melissa sitting at home on YouTube right now, Sean?
Is she not at work? Are that you all the only ones in the office right now?
No, I'd say half the office is here. The other half took it off.
Who are the ones that didn't show up?
Melissa's not here. Lindsay's not here.
I'm shocked.
Yeah.
Shocked.
And
How
I think
about Nicola
Nigel's
after that victory last week.
Nicola's off today too. And truth be told, I think Nigel's only here because of the podcast.
Yeah, pretty much.
it's-
Yeah,
Good
because
point.
he's off the next 2 days.
Well, we can actually talk about the Christmas party after we hear from Tim Storm again, because I found out in researching Tim Storm that at one point he had worked with Ahmed Johnson towards like the very end of Ahmed's career. I talked to him about his training and working with Ahmed as well.
You know, when I trained, however many years ago, 20 whatever years ago, the guy that trained me said it's going to take you 7 years to even understand what you're doing and the basics. And I remember wrestling for 2 years thinking, oh, he's full of it. I know, I got it now. I've got it. And then I remember like 2 years later, so at the 4-year mark, looking back going, wow, at 2 years, I knew nothing. And now I've got it. and the last 20-something years have just been a constant reevaluation and trying to figure out, okay, you never stop learning. You should never stop improving. And while my body is breaking down, physically, I can't do things that I could have done even 3 or 4 years ago. Mentally, I think my game is stronger than ever, and my cardio, it never lets me down. I'm always in great shape. My strength is still there. It's just, injuries don't heal as quickly, and sometimes they feel like never when you get older. And those are the things that I have to deal with. But I hope that I'm smart enough and honest enough that I ever get to that point where it's affecting my matches so much that that I need to step away. I hope I know that it's time to do that, and that's part of the evaluation process. That losing to Nick Aldis, that's part of the evaluation process I'm in now. I'm looking at the situation. I'm looking at myself. I'm evaluating injuries and saying, okay, is this something that's going to heal or is it not? And I haven't made a decision yet. But part of the advantage of being older and wiser is you learn not to make decisions in an emotional state, because usually an emotional decision is usually the wrong decision.
Oh, we see that all the time. We cover a lot of MMA at Fightful, and I can't count the number of guys this year alone who have retired after losing matches, and then 3 weeks later you see them accepting fights and they're booked.
Right. Well, and I'm not knocking anybody out there, but I don't ever want to be, and some of the greatest in the business have done this, but I never want to be the guy that retires and comes back and retires and comes back.
Sure.
If I make that decision, I want to know it's the right decision. And the biggest problem with that is my passion for wrestling. My passion for the wrestling business is so strong that I can't imagine stepping away from something and thinking I'm never going to have the opportunity to do what I love to do again after 20-something years. So that's a huge decision for me. It's not something I'm going to take lightly. And I'll be honest, I don't want to stop wrestling, but I also have to be honest enough and try to make a decision on it if it's time to stop or not. And again, I want to be really clear. I haven't made a decision one way or the other, so I'm not hinting that I'm done. I'm not hinting that I'm not done. I don't know yet.
I found this out that you once teamed up with Ahmed Johnson. Please walk me through that experience.
We did. I love Tony. I thought, great guy. We did a series of matches at PCW. And it started out where Ahmed came in. We had a faction called the Dark Circle, and our leader was a guy named Shadow, who became Dallas, who then became, I'm missing one in there, but then became Lance Archer, and now his real name is Lance Hoyt. Who's very well known with New Japan, and he and Harry Smith, the tag team part. But anyway, that was our faction, and Ahmed came in and basically just let us destroy him for about 6 weeks. Week in, week out, we were killing him. And on the big payoff night, he ran a 3-against-1. It was everybody but Lance. And he came in, he walked in with his WrestleMania jacket on, and he goes, all right, boys, here's what's going to happen. I've been putting you over for 6 weeks. Tonight I get mine back. So he took all three of us, stacked us on a table, climbed to the top rope, and he said he was going to hit an elbow. And I remember there were two guys on top of me looking up, and my tag team partner was right on top of me, and I whispered in his ear, "That's not an elbow." And he hit the most nasty 340-pound splash I've ever taken. And but we went on and did some different angles, and he and I ended up running a tag match against, I think it was a couple of guys called the Cowboys of Hell, which was Scott Putski and Cedric Crane, who were great workers, great body guys, real physical.
Okay, we're back.
I had some people in the chat asking why Tim Storm was never in WWE. He didn't train until he was 30, and at that point, if you started training at 30, WWE probably wasn't interested in you. They had a decree for a very long time, like nobody over a certain age, nobody under a certain height. Like,
what about WCW?
Weight. WCW was probably his best opportunity. I don't know why. I'll have to ask him after that, but I don't think he ever fit the profile of what WWE necessarily wanted, and I don't think his physique back then was anything what it is now. But it was a great talk with Tim Storm. I want to hear about this Christmas party because I got to experience a little bit of it.
Yes,
because
you did.
Melissa and Lindsay Skyped me in.
I saw that. I was not really shocked when they came over with a phone and turned it, and I'm like, oh, look at that. They're actually live streaming right now with Ross Sapp. Pretty appropriate.
I'm still waiting for the picture that we all took together, the group photo of me on Skype with everybody. I still haven't gotten that, and I'm waiting for it. Whoever in the office has it.
Yeah, I don't know who took it. Was it you, Nigel?
No, I think it was in that photo.
Oh, were you?
If I recall correctly.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. It was a fun night. I booked a 50-person limo, they call it, even though there was like 30 of us, and we were pretty tight in there, I think. But we booked that. We booked a private room at a restaurant. Brought out the food challenges, Sean. Nigel was victorious in one of them, Sean.
Really?
Yeah,
yes, he was.
Congratulations, Nigel.
Yes, he was. What one did you do again?
Caesar salad.
Caesar salad.
2.5 minutes.
There you go. Oh, you got the time down, too.
That's what I was told.
So he was the first to consume a Caesar salad, and he got, what, $1,000 for that?
Yeah.
Good for you. Good for you. So, it was a good night by all, man. Everybody had a good time.
Well, I just want to say I'm excited to return to Toronto for one reason and one reason only.
To do a food challenge.
Well, not just that. But in July when I was there was a disputed Nicola victory over Chow because of the disparity in amounts. Nicola won a food challenge last week. Chow won a food challenge last week.
Yes, he did.
That rematch has to happen, Jimmy.
Well, so Nicola had to do more to win her food challenge this time. Yeah. She had to consume 3 appetizers, and Chow did, was it the coconut cream pie that Chow did?
I think that was it.
So, yeah, so he got a much easier round this time. So, Yeah, it was a fun night, man. Fun night by
I have
everybody.
learned to not doubt the Irish. I'll tell you that much.
So I guess since we have a little bit more time left, I'm going to tell you the story behind this beauty right here. This
Butt plug. The Evander Holyfield butt
this
plug.
butt plug, as you like to call it. I'm going to tell you that story. So sometimes on this podcast and in life, I like to share some tips with Sean sometimes. You know, sometimes I like to give him, okay, not that tip. Not that tip.
Not an 18-inch tip.
No, not that
Not
tip.
one of those. It's
No.
all foreskin anyway.
It's all foreskin anyway. No, I like to give him, business tips sometime. And one tip that I told Sean recently is in business, you don't acknowledge the little guy. And what that means is when you're climbing the ladder, you got guys above you that you're trying to reach, and you got guys below you that you've either climbed over or they're just starting out after you. The guys above you, those are the ones you acknowledge. The guys below you, you don't, even when they acknowledge you, because there's no benefit to doing it. And this is something that I've told Sean. And oftentimes, the ones below you, when they do acknowledge you, they're just doing it to try to put themselves over and get themselves to rub off of you. So I want to tell a story because I actually learned this firsthand from, of all people, Evander Holyfield, the former heavyweight champion of the world. You've heard of Evander Holyfield, I hope, right?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
So-
he's the guy who boxed Matt Hardy on SmackDown once.
There you
That's
go.
how we all know him.
There you go. Yeah, that's how everybody knows him. Yeah. So back in 2013, I was launching a supplement line, and I actually got Evander Holyfield to be the spokesman for the product. And we decided we were going to do an affiliate program. I'm sure you're familiar with those, Sean, like what Amazon does and Walmart and all these other places do, where you give a commission on every sale, right? So we decided, let's go to an affiliate marketing conference, and there was a party going on during that conference, and I'd never been to this party before, let alone sponsored it, but I decided this one time, it was in Philadelphia, I'm going to come to this party, and I'm going to be the title sponsor on this party, and I'm going to bring Evander to the party, actually. And so I told the promoter, this is what we're going to be doing, I'm going to bring Evander out and all that. So we go to Philadelphia, Evander comes out, very kind, gracious guy. I could tell you the shit that he dealt with that night, but he's such a kind and gracious guy. We go to the party, and I immediately recognize within like 10 minutes that this whole thing was self-serving for the promoter, because everybody there were like buddies with the promoter, and it was very clear to me that this was kind of a self-serving thing for him, and there was really no business in it for me. So during the evening, they had an awards ceremony, and they were giving out these little beauties right here. And you know what's funny is that the bottom of this has the name of the trophy store where they got it from.
Oh, no.
Right there, which is pretty amazing. Probably a $10 beauty
You
right
keep
here.
giving away free ads on this show. Like, what's...
Well, I'm telling a story, Sean. Let me tell my story, Sean.
Isn't this your expertise? Like...
Yeah. So it's time for the awards ceremony, and I'm sitting back just kind of watching this thing. Now, this night, they had actually brought in Busta Rhymes to perform, right? So Busta Rhymes, so Busta Rhymes was there, and of course Evander was there. So they do this little ceremony, and these awards, it says on it, in recognition of outstanding internet achievement. So you got to remember that, in recognition of outstanding internet achievement. So this thing starts, the promoter's on stage, because it's all about a photo op, right? And the guys that were winning the awards were buddies with the promoter. It was, from what people told me. Then they announced the next two recipients of this award for in recognition of outstanding internet achievement, Busta Rhymes and Evander Holyfield, right? Which is obviously stupid, and clearly it was done for a photo op. Evander very reluctantly goes up on stage, and Busta Rhymes is up on stage, and the promoter's standing between them, and they're getting the photo op, and everybody's doing the thumbs up and all that. When it was all done, I was ready to leave. There was just nothing in it for me in terms of business at this party, so I was ready to leave. And I happened to mention to my group, Lindsay was with us actually at the party, and I mentioned, you know what, I'm going to go. And Evander said, do you mind if I go too? I wouldn't mind going back to the hotel. And I said, you know what, I'll get you a car and let's go. So we did. We get to Evander's hotel. He's the first stop. And he's getting out of the car. And this was on the floor of the limo that we were in. And I picked it up. To hand it to Evander. I go, hey, man, don't forget your award. And Evander looks at me and he goes, you keep it. And I go, you sure? And he goes, man, they gave that to me for showing up. He said, it doesn't mean anything. It was an opportunity to get me on stage, and it was an opportunity to take pictures, and that's why they did it. It means nothing. You keep it. And so to this day, I've kept this trophy as a reminder that in business, you don't acknowledge the little guy. The little guy oftentimes is just looking to get a rub off of you and put themselves over. And that's why I keep this little thing right here. And so that's a story that I told Sean a couple of weeks ago. And that was
like
like,
to say-
can you believe almost 5 years ago already?
I
Almost
just
5
want to
years
say
ago.
Whoa.
I'm not too good to acknowledge anybody because I am a down-to-earth, wonderful human being, Jimmy.
There you go, man. There you go.
I'm not the kind of guy that says, throw your hands up in the air, don't ever disrespect, woo-ha, got you all in check. Like some of the people you run with.
Is that Busta Rhymes?
Yeah, it's Busta Rhymes.
Okay. I am not his demographic. I will say this. So
I am, apparently. I love the song.
I saw him that night at that thing, and I'm going to be honest with you because I'm just not a follower of Busta Rhymes. I remembered him from like when he was on SmackDown with The Rock back in the late 90s, and he was like a 6'3", 170-pound guy.
Oh, he's a big dude now.
Right. So when I saw him at this thing, because he found out Evander was there, and so he wanted to see Evander, right? And I saw him, and I was like, that's not Busta Rhymes. That guy's like 250 pounds. Busta Rhymes has like dreads and he's like 170 pounds. I couldn't believe it was the same guy.
I was a big Busta Rhymes fan. I like A Tribe Called Quest, and he's really close with them. We should have Nigel read off some of these comments on the YouTube,
Wait, what,
including Flip Mode Squad. These people know what's up. Maybe you don't understand the demographic, but I do, Jimmy.
That's good.
Our viewers are down with Flip Mode Squad.
That's good. That's nice.
Can you get Flip Mode Squad or Violator or anybody like that on the show?
I mean, if I really wanted to, I could get anybody on the show, Sean.
Somebody said Buster. I think they said Busta Rhymes or Evander Holyfield is like the 30th most famous person in Jimmy's phone book. SRS #1.
Oh, is that right? So your mom is watching the podcast now?
My mom would not say that. She would not compliment this. The last thing she wanted me to do was to get involved in pro wrestling.
Oh, really?
Yeah, she didn't want it. Like, I wasn't allowed to watch it as a child. Like,
That doesn't surprise me.
no. I had like really bad ADHD, and it was completely blamed on pro wrestling.
Are you
Like, Marty Jannetty is the reason you can't focus in school.
where you're living? That's considered part of the Bible Belt, right?
Oh yeah, you're
Yeah.
damn right it is.
Yeah. All Republicans, all everywhere you look.
Let's hit you with some of these questions. Did Jimmy make his millions by Bitcoin?
I did not. So I will say I do dabble in cryptocurrency.
Do you?
I do, but
I see Sean Morley talking about it all the time
Yes.
and on Facebook, and I am intrigued.
I've actually gotten tips from Sean Morley about different currencies. I do dabble. However, I believe that it is a bubble, and I believe that it is going to burst, especially because Bitcoin is the one everybody's into, and Bitcoin is by far the most expensive one, right? So it is going to burst. I think it's at 16,000 or so right now a coin. It's going to end up like $1. And so I would not recommend that you put all your eggs in one basket and put all your money into Bitcoin. But I do dabble in crypto, but I've got like a dozen different currencies that I'm in, none of which is Bitcoin, Sean.
Really, really considered investing in Bitcoin last year. Everybody says that, and they didn't.
You can't look at it like that because everybody says that, yeah.
Yep. Does Jimmy know any of the Edmonton Oilers?
So I have exchanged tweets with Grant Fuhr. He is the Hall of Famer goaltender for the team. One time, okay, I'll tell you a story. One time, I was waiting out by the team bus, and a gentleman, this very friendly black guy, comes out. He's standing next to me. I was holding a bag with some memorabilia in it. And when I saw the team come out of the arena, I said to the guy, hey, you mind holding my bag for a second so I can get some pictures? He's like, oh, yeah, no problem. He holds the bag. Turns out that was their backup goaltender.
Oh, wow.
I had no idea. It wasn't until the coach said, his name's Freddie Brathwaite, and the coach said, Freddie, time to go. And he said, have a good night, man. He gave me the bag back. And I was like, crap, I just had the backup goaltender hold my memorabilia bag. Didn't know it was him. Yeah.
Is Trailer Park Boys the best Canadian TV series ever?
That's a Nigel question.
Honestly, I have never been a huge Trailer Park Boys guy. And that's
I
weird.
watched-
It was just always one of those things I meant to watch more, and I just never did.
I think in
I
terms
watched
of
the first series, the reunited series. It was just the same stuff rehashed.
I think in terms of success, I'd probably say Degrassi's above it. I think.
Degrassi helped launch the career of Drake.
Yeah, but that was
Drake is kind of Kentucky royalty actually, because he's such a big fan of Kentucky basketball. He's
Really?
at the games all the time and close
Really?
to John Calipari.
interesting.
Somebody says SRS ditched the Kentucky accent. He doesn't need any business tips. No, I have not completely ditched the accent, as Jimmy can verify in person. The story we told on the Live in Canada podcast is that we were out eating, and some dude who had happened to live in Kentucky for 4 months immediately walked up and said, "You're from Lexington, Kentucky," which was the most insane thing.
He didn't say Lexington, Kentucky. He said Kentucky.
He said, "You're from Kentucky," and he goes, "Probably about Lexington." And I was like, how do you know that?
Yeah.
Does Jimmy own any WWE stock?
No, I do not. And as a matter of fact, okay, I'm telling stories I shouldn't tell. I don't want to get people in trouble. I will tell you this. So back when they were going to be announcing the network launch, and something had happened before that, it might have been the new TV contract or something, where the stock jumped, and then as soon as the contract was announced and it wasn't what they thought it was going to be, then the stock dropped again, right? So they were about to launch the network, about to announce the network launch. And I had a buddy in the company that actually texted me, and he said, this is probably a good time to get in because they're going to announce, I think this was on a Monday, and he said Thursday they're going to announce the launch of the network, and the stock's probably going to spike. And I called my financial advisor, and I said, I want you to put X amount of dollars into WWE stock. And he actually was like, absolutely not. You don't want to do that. Not a good decision. And I made him do it. And Thursday came, and they announced the network launch, and the stock dropped. And
wow.
My advisor was like, I told you, you're an idiot. And I ended up, I waited long enough that I was able, it leveled up, and then I got my money back.
Yeah.
But that was my one endeavor into the WWE stock, and I have not gone for it since.
I know people who invested at, I think, $8, $9 a share when it was at its very, very, very lowest,
right,
and just recently cashed out at
that'd
30.
be good. That'd be good.
Oh, yeah, that was very good for them.
Yeah.
Here's a good one. Does Jimmy Van shop at pawn shops?
I don't really know of any pawn shops, man. I did go to the famous one in Vegas, and I was grossly disappointed because the one in Vegas now is just a souvenir stand, essentially. And when you go in, it's nothing but coffee mugs and keychains and all that crap. And the stuff you see on the show where, hey, here's a title belt from an old boxer, and here is all this, that stuff is on display with a sign that says not for sale.
Not for sale, yeah.
And I was like, and it's funny because the cabbie, when we were going over to this place, the cabbie said, just so you know, it's a bunch of bullshit. The guys that are on the TV show, they're only here when they tape TV. Mm-hmm. And the people that are brought in selling their stuff, it's all set up, right? Yeah. And otherwise, those guys are never actually there. And yeah, it was crap.
So I want to ask you, when did you start dabbling in insider trading?
This is why I wasn't going to tell the story. This is why, but I didn't profit anything, and it was strictly based on the network announcement that was going to be coming out. That's all it was. And boy, did that not work out. Although I didn't put a ton of money into it, but yeah.
Sean, have you ever pitched? This one's on Twitter. Sean, have you ever pitched Jimmy business ideas? The closest I've came is actually something I was talking to Nigel about today, like mobile game ideas and things like that. Like, because Jimmy dabbles, you dabble in a little bit of everything. Like,
yeah, we do.
How
that
often
stuff.
do you have people doing things like that? Like saying, "Okay, try to bankroll this."
Every day.
Every day.
Every day somebody will hit me up. Matter of fact, without mentioning names, I'll tell you this, because this is the shit I deal with. So last week, a guy that I had to write off a debt of like 90 grand from a guy a couple of years ago. This guy hit me up last week saying, I'm launching a website, I'm looking for a title sponsor. What do you think about sponsoring me for 3 months at $5 grand a month? And I thought to myself, I just wrote off 90 grand, and you have the balls to ask me for 15 grand on a 3-month sponsorship deal? This is the kind of shit I deal with, Sean.
Mother of God.
Yeah.
What else you got going on this week, Jimmy? What's the Canadian work week look like? I mean, I know I get paid Friday, hopefully, but you all had Boxing Day yesterday.
Am I here Friday to do payroll? Let me think about that. Yeah, I think I'll be around. So tomorrow, I'm actually going to go see Star Wars.
Nice.
Going to see that. We have limited time off, limited babysitters. Yeah.
Virgin.
I'm the virginal father with 2 kids. That's me. But
it's a Christmas miracle.
It's
Jimmy.
Christmas miracle. Yeah. So I'm going to go see that, and then otherwise, New Year's is not a thing for me anymore, dude. When you get a certain age and kids and everything, New Year's doesn't mean anything to me. I'm not going out. So what about you, dude? Are you a big New Year's guy? Are you going to be going out and partying it up?
As I was telling Nigel, and I've told you before, most of my friends have kind of migrated to the Georgetown, Lexington area. And although I wouldn't mind going and hanging out with them for New Year's, it's like, all right, that's an hour trip for me there. I'm not staying there overnight because the next day's Monday. I got to come home and work. So it's not worth the trip and all that stuff. I can go see them anytime I want on like a Sunday evening when there's no WWE. So I'm not really going to compromise that. When we get the move done a couple of years down the line, I'll make New Year's more of a factor for me.
And what about you, Nigel? Are you a big New Year's guy? You going to go out and party it up and all that?
I used to do more of that, but I think this year I'm probably going to take it easy. Christmas was pretty big this year, so
that's good. That's good.
Need to
That's
recover.
good. Good. Yeah, to me, New Year's is very commercial. And in Toronto, because Toronto's a big city, the same clubs that you can go to any week of the year, on New Year's Eve, it's like a $100 cover charge.
Yeah. Oh.
And I just don't see the point.
See, that's the only benefit of having, like, well, I don't want to say the only benefit. There are plenty, but that's one of the benefits of living in a smaller town. There are not cover charges for things like that at our bars and clubs and stuff like that because they just want your ass in the door buying drinks, like, at any cost. Guys, tonight I will be, it's 8 p.m. Eastern. Myself, Alex, Jeff, synced up with the match. We'll give you the time to match up with. We'll give you a little bit of time to get there on the WWE Network and to watch Royal Rumble 2005, the Royal Rumble match with us. It's going to be a good time. If you like it, we will do more if the numbers facilitate it. But we have that NWA feature. We have a lot of stuff coming up. And don't forget UFC 219 on Saturday. It is a big show. Cyborg versus Holm. I did what I think is a pretty great preview on it this week with Showdown Joe out. I incorporated a lot of the clips that James Lynch has given us from his interviews, the pros picks, all that good stuff. It is over at Fightful.com, FightfulPods.com. Myself and James Lynch will be coming at you live right after UFC 219 for a live post-show podcast. So tune in there. You all can follow Jimmy at JimmyVan74. You can follow me at Sean Ross Sapp. Go follow us on Instagram. Thousands of you watch this show, and I know you all have Instagram. I know you do.
I don't, Sean.
Why don't you just bury the Instagram on the show? Bury the concept of Instagram on the show. Go ahead.
It's an account just for posting photos. It's stupid. I don't have Instagram.
Well, your website that you own does.
That's cool.
And
I'm glad
they
it
can
does.
Follow it at Fightful Online. Guys, thank you all so much. Until next time, we are out.